The weather is definitely warmed up, which is good. If you think I'm focused on the weather, well, the climates in which I grew up, it very, very seldom got really cold and it very, very seldom got really hot. And the winters were normally coldish but drab. It was a humid climate, so it didn't really have to get too cold before it felt really cold. So when we get days like we got today, I think it's just wonderful. I could have spent all day out there. And in fact, I may just go for a walk after this. Who knows? Because it's good to get out in the sunlight, right? And I know after 4 o'clock ish, it's okay again with the UV rays. Or at least that's what I read the other day. So let's see how it goes. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you got a chance to see our Sunday service. If not, it's there. It's on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. So go for it. And here is the reading for today. I'm just going to read it verbatim as it is. I'm not going to make apologies for any words that our writer uses or the quotes. I'm just going to read them as they are, and then you interpret them in your own particular way. Okay? The first quote is from Creative Mind, which was written by Ernest Holmes, and it's on page 28. And this is what it says: we should daily feel a deeper union with life, a greater sense of that indwelling God. And from the Science of Mind magazine on page 399, which, trust me, is not the end of the book. It's a big book. It's a tome, actually. Our individual subjective mind is our place in the universal creative law and immediately connects us with limitless power and energy. As I said, that's from the Science of Mind textbook. And Ernest Holmes often used the term law with a capital L and universal mind, universal subjective, universal subconscious. He would use them interchangeably. And this is Reverend Margaret, who says, although we may use our thought processes to do many things, I think that we really are engaging in one of two things. We're either refreshing our minds or idling in neutral, recalling that we are spiritual beings or turning away. And we can know this by the way that we act. Consider this. When we criticize others or ourselves, we are momentarily shutting out the truth that we are deeply spiritual. When we center our thoughts on our spiritual source, we recall who we are and we make this subtle switch throughout each day. As I see it, our aim would be to make sure that our thoughts are as God-centered as possible, as God-centered as we can make them. In this way, we make our energies work for our good as much as possible, and the good of everybody else, of course. Our use of divine spirituality is not at all woo-woo and good feelings, although that's a part of how we're lifted up, the good feelings. We have the good resource of powerful reason at our disposal. We can choose what and how we think. Reverend Jesse yesterday in his talk was pointing out about what we think we bring about. We can determine that the nature of our thoughts inspires us. She says we can determine that the nature of our thoughts inspires us, and when we fall off the wagon into negativity, we can start self-discovery once again and get right back on that wagon. Recalling who we are is not a right, it's a discipline. It is part of our personal business to stay as sharp and as alert as possible. And it is definitely worth the effort. So, what do you make of that? Well, one point that comes out to me is this, that none of us, at least I've never met anyone who's perfect. Maybe there are some people on the planet who are nearly perfect, but I'm not one of those, and I strongly suspect most of the people, all the people I know, are not one of those. So, in other words, we occasionally do fall off the wagon, and we have to get back on again. Often it's referred to for people who have given up drinking or drugs or something and they fall off the wagon. But it's got a much broader sense than that, right? It's got the sense that, hey, we can be determined to do something, and then all of a sudden we find we're not doing it. And we have two choices, really, two main choices, lots of choices, but excuse me, two main choices. One is we can start beating ourselves up about it, punishing ourselves, or we can just stop and say, hey, I really don't want to be going in this direction that I just find myself in. I want to be back on that clear direction that takes me to a good place, and we can get back, quote, on the wagon again, unquote, and just keep moving. So that's one of the main messages that comes out to me in all of this. And the other one is that we are, if we believe that there is one essence that created everything and we're expressions of it, then by the law of nature, we are part of it. And if we're part of it, then we are able to access parts of it. In other words, we can access the divine, the universal subjective, or the law, as Holmes often calls it. We can use it. So our job is really twofold. It's to pick a good direction to go in, and should we get off that wagon, to get back on again. And how do we stay on that course? Well, we read good stuff, listen to good things. We do our affirmations, we do our prayer time, we do spend some quiet time, some time in meditation. I think our little cat here, I don't know if you can actually, oh no, you can't really see. No, you can't really see him. Strikes me that he and the other two cats that we have are often in meditation because they just seem to be there doing nothing. So, of course, I don't know what goes on inside a cat's mind. I don't know anybody really does. Maybe not even the cats know what's going on in their minds. So anyway, the message today to me is this, let's focus on the positive. And if we get away from that, let's just bring ourselves back to focusing on the positive and do enough work that allows us to have a good attitude in life, to move forward on good things in life, and to aim for good things for ourselves and for other people as well. So that's kind of it. The affirmations she gives us, Reverend Margaret. When I was a kid, I was never allowed to say she. My mother used to get really upset if I used the word she. She would say, no, she is the cat's mother. You must use the person's name, whether it's Mrs. Brown or whether it's Julie or whatever it was. I had to use the person's name. Or if I didn't know, I would say the nun that decided to punish me today, so on and so forth. Throughout this whole month, we're getting, I am the place where God stands forth in the world as me. I'm the place where God stands forth in the world as me. You're going to get that every single day for the rest of the month. And the new one today, it's actually two. I keep this point of light before me all throughout the day. I keep this point of light before me all throughout the day. I always remember who I am. I always remember who I am. And who are you? You are a child of the divine. That's who you are. And from one child of the divine to the other, recognizing the God in you recognizes the God in me. In other words, namaste. So take care of yourself, take care of others, and then we'll see you again. Namaste.